For my first Irish whiskey review of 2023, I'm going to review one that should have been a song by the Runaways because it's a sherry bomb. McConnell's Sherry Cask Finish Irish Whiskey. Welcome to Four Leaf Whiskey. I wanted to review one that is starting to be pretty available that everybody can probably find. This one is making its way across the US along with the regular bottle of McConnell's that has the green label. This is their Sherry Cask Finish that they released just last year. McConnell's is a brand that's located in Belfast, and their distillery in 1909, they had a massive fire and lost 500,000 gallons of whiskey. McConnell's brand was brought back, re-released in 2020. And they're building a brand new distillery almost on the old spot of the old distillery in Belfast. So I'm looking forward to that. It's supposed to have a great visitor center. It'll bring a lot to Belfast. And it'll add one more distillery for Irish whiskey fans. So let's talk about this one. This is a 5-year age statement whiskey. This was finished in bourbon barrels, finished from what I've discovered about 9 months in Oloroso sherry casks. I didn't find out any information on artificial coloring, although the fact that they don't specifically say they don't add it makes me believe they might. It's awful dark in color for 9 months. I mean, it's still believable, so it could be no coloring added to this one. This one is 46% ABV. This is non-chill filtered. This is a 60-40 blend of grain versus malt. Right on the nose, honestly, this one is dessert. This is dessert in a glass. It almost reminds me of like donuts. Donuts are like cinnamon rolls. A lot of vanilla, a lot of fig, raisin. A little bit of chocolate, but like a milk chocolate, not a darker chocolate. But the dominant note on this is the sherry. A lot of fig and raisin on this one. The first thing I'm getting on the palate is a little bit of apple. Then it's almost like a tobacco. Kind of like a little bit of a tobacco note. And then that sherry hits. And it's kind of like a fig Newton. I am getting a little bit of the malt as well. And so that's what it best reminds me of. It's a fig Newton cookie. It's very, very sweet. A little bit of almost like a clove. Yeah, a little bit of a clove on the finish. I got cinnamon on the nose. I'm not really getting as much on the palate. Short finish. So I had to actually go back to it twice. It's a short finish. It's a real easy drinker. If you're looking for something sweet, this is sweet. This is very, very sweet. I like the sweeter whiskeys. And this almost might be a touch too sweet for me. I would like to see how this compares to a couple others that I have that might be around the same age that are also sherry finish. Okay, so I found another couple of sherry finished Irish whiskeys that are in the same ballpark, at least as far as price point with the McConnell's sherry cask. So I have Limavady. Now this is a PX finished single malt, but it retails for $50 here in Ohio. It's about in the same price range as the McConnell's. I think it's a little on the younger side. So that is in our Women of Whiskey's Glen. And I've got Bushmills Black Bush, which is another Oloroso sherry finished blended Irish whiskey. That is in our Women of Whiskey's Patreon Glen. So I can tell you right away on the nose, getting more malt on the Bushmills. A lot more of the sherry is coming through on the McConnell's. So on the Bushmills, I'm getting more of the kind of an almondy note that I sometimes got with the Oloroso sherry finish. An example of that would be Redbreast Stowe. I tend to get like a marzipan note on that, and that's similar to this Bushmills. I'm still getting the malt, but I'm getting that more of that almondy kind of note. I don't get that at all on the McConnell's. I get more of a chocolate on this one. The Bushmills is less sweet than the McConnell's. McConnell's is coming through much, much sweeter. I mean, it's almost like a syrupy kind of a donut sweet. Now the Bushmills is coming across a little bit thinner, which I would expect. It's a 40% versus a 46%. But it also is coming through as just a little more balanced as far as the sweetness and the maltiness. But these are two blended Irish whiskeys. Both are finished in Oloroso sherry casks. Both are in the 30, I think this is $45-ish range. for the McConnell's. So they're comparable, and they actually are drastically different. If you put these two in a lineup, you would be able to tell they are not the same whiskey at all. On to the Lima body. On the nose already, you can tell it's different. It's completely different. A lot more citrus, orange, milk chocolate. Ooh, the palate is a whole lot of citrus. You don't really realize that even though they're both sherry, how drastically different Oloroso's sherry finish and PX sherry finish is. This side by side is kind of really putting the highlight on that. These two have more fig, have more almond. The Lima Body PX on the palate is a whole lot of orange. That's the first thing I'm getting off the palate after drinking these two, is a whole lot of orange. Getting a little bit of chocolate. Reminds me of those Terry's chocolate oranges, which is a similar note that I get with Redbreast PX sometimes. A lot of chocolate oranges. That being said, I think these two are in the same ballpark as far as sweetness. They're both very, very sweet. So this is actually a surprising comparison, because Lima Body is a very sweet, I kind of consider it to be a sherry bomb. I tell people that I'm friends with that are Speyside Scotch fans, this is a big sherry bomb for whiskey, and it does come off very sweet and a very heavy sherry finish. That being said, McConnell's kind of is blowing it out. I think that McConnell's actually is more sherry. McConnell's is the sweetest of the three, but I mean, it's noticeable how much sweeter it is. If you don't like a super, super sweet whiskey, I don't know if you're going to like the McConnell's. If that's what you're going for, honestly, if you're trying to introduce someone to whiskey, you could do worse than the McConnell's, because if it's somebody who likes, sweeter, maybe rums and things like that, it's sweet enough. I think they'll be able to handle this one. So McConnell's sherry finish Irish whiskey. This one is sweet. That's the best way I can describe it. It's sweet. It is like syrupy pancakes. It's cinnamon rolls. It's fig Newtons. It's dessert in a glass. I think there's probably some good cigar pairings you could do with this one. It does have a shorter finish. I'd be curious to know that 60-40 grain versus malt, what is actually in that grain. I was not able to find much information on it. The good thing about McConnell's is you're going to start seeing them in the US. They have a focus on US distribution. So you're going to start seeing this one and the green label at several stores in several states. This one retails, I think I paid $49 for this one, which honestly, it seems a little high, but that's what I paid for the Lima Body as well. I think if you could find this one for around $40, $45, if you like that sweeter whiskey, it's definitely worth a look. I'm excited to get over to Ireland and to see what McConnell's does next. Sláinte.